And I recognize the gentleman from Rhode Island, Mr. Magaziner, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Chairman. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, leads our nation in securing businesses, critical infrastructure, and the government from cyber criminals, hackers, and adversarial countries. When U.S. businesses are attacked, CISA provides vital response and recovery. When there is an emerging cyber threat or a breach, CISA warns private industry about the threat and also provides training and education to the private sector, critical infrastructure operators, educational partners, and the general public. The absolutely vital work done at CISA makes our country safer from the growing threats in cyberspace. And I am glad that there is bipartisan interest in reauthorizing the Cyber Information Sharing Act of 2015 so that this work can continue. In part, though, the continued success of CISA and the hopefully growing success of CISA depends not just on this legislation being reauthorized, but in making sure that CISA is adequately resourced. And we need to ensure that the Trump and Musk administration doesn't cut CISA to the extent that they have announced they intend to do so. We should be investing in this space, not cutting back, because our adversaries are not cutting back. And if we're going to believe that the administration takes cybersecurity seriously, then we're going to need to see from them a reversal in their plan to cut nearly $500 million from CISA's budget, which is what was proposed in the administration's fiscal 26 budget. If the administration took cybersecurity seriously, they would be investing in CISA, not cutting it. So we need to talk about that, and then we need to talk about the alternative. How do we build CISA up to continue to be successful going forward in the context of a ever more complex and hostile threat environment targeting the United States? So I'll start with Ms. Kuhn. Did I pronounce that correctly? Kuhn? Keen. So in April, it was reported that the Trump administration plans to cut over 1,000 jobs at CISA, which is expected to impact a myriad of programs across the agency. Can you discuss what the impact of those kinds of workforce cuts would be and whether they are a good idea or not?
If we talk about the threats that we're facing right now, you were asking about adversaries earlier, and one of the critical roles that CISA is playing right now is that we really have, with the advent of AI and specifically generative and agentic AI, 3 types of threats right now. We have malicious, which we all understand, nation-state adversaries and criminals. We also have malfunction and mistake. So if we think about what happened this summer with CrowdStrike from software incident perspective, and then also with AI, when all of a sudden an LM decides to go poorly. So CISA is playing a critical role. One, the public partnership groups that I discussed before, like JCDC and the Advisory Council, of helping share information between the companies that are on the front line from the private sector developing technologies and the government when things happen from a threat perspective. The other thing that's really critical is, we talk a lot about the private sector, but the reality is that a huge amount of our critical national infrastructure sits within medium and small businesses. Yeah. And they rely on CISA for things like the small company guidances that came out in the last few years with cyber.
Yeah, I think that's such an important point. I mean, one of the things that I think the general member of the public doesn't fully appreciate unless they're deep in this stuff is that, when our adversaries, particularly the state actors, China, Iran, North Korea, others, are trying to hack into U.S. systems, it's not just the big government agencies like the Pentagon or the big companies like Northern Trust, but small and medium-sized businesses, and also all of these local utilities and local governments all across the country. And we hear about these cases in classified settings, but there are also plenty of cases that have been publicly reported of local water systems, local airports, et cetera. So again, just getting back to the issue of resources and workforce, CISA has, thousands and thousands of customers that it needs to interface with, small businesses, small localities. So again, how important is it that we maintain a strong workforce at CISA in that light?
So I'll give an example, and you talk about the small businesses and the importance of CISA. Not long ago, I was on a plane chatting with the woman next to me. She was on her way to Florida because she was meeting her husband and her grandkids, and her husband was retiring from his job. What do you do? Well, he was a concrete distributor in Dallas, and she explained to me that they were selling the company was going out of business basically, because she literally went, there was one of those ransomware attack things. He borrowed my phone and did something for business on my phone, and we had a ransomware thing. And there was a gang in Turkey, and this is her explaining this to me, who charged us $6 million. And it was just too hard to clean up. We don't have the ability of understanding the cybersecurity, and so we just gave up and we're closing the business and he's gonna retire. That's the issue we're facing here. Is that, while we can represent large organizations that can spend, millions and millions and millions on cybersecurity, there are exponentially more organizations out there, critical national infrastructure, small banks, grocery stores, you name it, that don't have the ability and need organizations like the program CISA provides in order to ensure that we have mature cybersecurity.
Thank you.
Gentlemen.